That is so important. And how do I start? It's so great to ask that now and start building an accurate family tree. We have many clients who come to us who just dove in, didn't know what they're doing, and they're like, wow, you can really hear them cleaning up back there.
You can. They're doing some mess. Let's go see if they're going to continue.
So this is just roots tech behind us and all that noise. But building that accurate family tree, clients who come to us and say, I have a mess and I need you to fix it. And let me tell you, we can do that, but it's so much better to start accurately. So you start with, what do you know? And put that into your tree. Find a website where you want to build your family tree. What do you know? You know yourself, right? You know your birthday. You know who your parents are, maybe. Not everyone does.
Yeah.
So what do you know? Put in that information. There are identifiers in family history. There are names, locations, dates, and relationships. So all of that those are your identifiers. Put in whatever you can. If you know anything about your grandparents, put it in. If you know even your great-grandparents' name, put it in. Start with what you know. And then you go back and find the documentation to prove that. And we call it the genealogical proof standard. And that's where you just want to make sure it is accurate. And you do that by finding at least 2 documents for every event in someone's life. A birth as an event. Find a birth certificate if you can. And then you can back that up with maybe the death certificate has a birth date on it. Maybe the tombstone also has the birth date, or a census record that supports they were born in that same year. 2 documents for every event. A marriage. Maybe you can find a newspaper article with that marriage announcement. Those are so fun, Heather.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the marriage certificate, or if they had to register and then it was returned later. Find those 2 documents to support every event in your tree, so you know you're building an accurate tree. And add those sources.
Yes.
And I just can't say enough about adding sources, because sometimes you'll come up and you'll be like, okay, online I found a person and it says they were born here, but how do they know that? And you go to click on the source, no source. You're like, what, would they just make it up? I don't know.
Sometimes I think they have a little liberties on some of the trees. Yeah.
But if you add that source and it's connected and they can pull up that birth certificate, oh, this is how they know that information. This is legitimate. This is solid information. Great. So add those sources to that person in your tree. And that's a great way to start building an accurate tree. One thing that you do not ever do is just assume that, oh, look, here's my ancestor in somebody else's tree. I'm going to just import all of those people and all those generations. Don't do that. I was so surprised to find out that about 40% of the trees online have errors and mistakes in them. So you've just imported somebody else's mistakes.
Oh.
You might look at that as a hint. Okay, they think this is their grandparent or their, parent. Let me go look, or their sibling. Go find the documentation to support it. Once you've done that, then add that person to your tree. Go one person at a time. It's slower, but it guarantees you're building an accurate tree and not just importing somebody else's mistakes.
I think that when I was new, I had that problem because I get so excited. You see, oh my goodness, they've got more ancestors that I can then connect, and then my tree is twice as big, but it's not an accurate tree. And that's what's most important, is that we have it accurate, not that it's big, right? Better to have it be smaller and grow slowly and have it all be accurate.
And the beauty about building it slowly is not only is it's easier to build a tree that way than to clean up a mess, but you get to know each person in the tree. You spend time with them. As you're looking for those records, you learn their story, and you haven't just imported, a whole line and you know nothing about them and you've made mistakes. You're learning about each person. It's meaningful, and you care about them so much more. So start with what you know, document that information, add people one person at a time by documenting and finding records that verify the information you're adding.
And I think it's important too that you have the two sources, because then you're validating that first source. It's interesting because some records, they might have information on there, but it's not always 100% accurate.
Right.
And we had an example we were talking about with a client today where sometimes the children would be the ones listing the information on a death certificate, and so it's not always correct, because children don't always know all the details. They think Uncle Jed's really their uncle. He might not be, so there's information we want to make sure we get accurate in there.
Right, and there's primary sources and secondary sources. So that's why you want more than one, because that information on a death record, well, obviously if I die, I'm not giving that information. It's my child who wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so they might not know if the information is correct.
That's perfect.